All right, so I took some time away from reading and studying for finals to make some YouTube videos because I've been kind of slacking, and that's part of my stress reduction plan. But there's been some interesting political stuff the past couple days. Sarah Palin's book came out today, which really it sounds like less of a book and more like an anthology. Um, Anthology, yeah. I'm so tired. The words don't even sound right. Um, it's like she'll make from the reviews that I've read, she'll make like little comments and then she'll like grab snippets of stuff that she thinks is important literature, um, which is interesting. I mean, it's great to see kind of what she's reading. It sounds like a really comprehensive book report. I'm probably not going to read it. I'm pretty sure there's, $25 I could better spend, like, burning the cash. But I mean, I was reading excerpts. Dave Weigel did a pretty good review of the book, and she didn't, from the review, she didn't take any time to really explain kind of, like a vision for what she wants the country to be. It's kind of, the usual like life, liberty, freedom, and, that's fine. I kind of wish that our discourse level was higher because I feel as though the Democrats have lowered themselves to the level of the Tea Party and more conservative Republicans. I feel like there are two people at the dinner table. One party's the kid, the other party's the adult. The kid's got their fingers in their ears and they're just yelling, and it doesn't matter what the parent does because there's not a meeting of the minds. There's not there aren't equals really discussing what's going on. And I think that's a problem. I think that, we've got to have, some kind of common sense solution. And now you've got Republicans talking about refusing to raise the debt ceiling. And I mean, that's an operational something. I mean, I think could possibly be headed towards another government shutdown like we had in the 90s. So, and I hear people when they say that, the Tea Party is gaining in supporters and, X percentage of people support the Tea Party. And I'm like, so just because you have more supporters doesn't mean you have the right position. And that's true of the Obama administration, of Yes We Can 2008. The number of people who agree with your philosophy doesn't lend credence to it being right or even factually based. And it's sad. It's sad for me because I believe like there are Republicans out there who can have fact-based conversations, and then I feel as though there are those people who can't, where it's just emotion. People who argue that, they argue for personal, civil liberties, but then they're against a woman's right to choose, or they feel like government should keep their hands off, their money in the form of reduced taxes, but they don't believe that people should have the right to marry people of the same sex. I mean, for me, the conservative movement and Republicans and the Christian right are full of so many contradictions that I don't know how they get up in the morning. I mean, if I had to get up in the morning with that much weight and that much hypocrisy oftentimes weighing down on me, I'm not sure I'd have the energy to get out of bed to go to school or make it to the refrigerator. I mean, it's heavy stuff, and I often get in conversations with friends, and they point to well, when we reduced taxes in the past, this one thing got said to me, like when we reduced taxes, JFK reduced taxes, watched the economy grow, and it's like, yeah, I will definitely concede with you that when taxes are at like 95%, that does inhibit growth and job creation. I certainly think that's a given. That when you have taxes that are that high, you know, anywhere probably upwards of even 60 or 70% on the top income bracket, then that may restrict growth and job creation. But what we're talking about, the current system, we're at like 38, 35%, and that people want to drop it to like 20, 25. And there's the law of diminishing returns in that there's that sweet spot where when you start cutting taxes for the rich, you're not making up that money. And that's what a lot of economists and people, scientists, people who study it with facts say that, the Bush tax cuts for the wealthy don't pay for themselves. There's this glorious myth whereby we have been, brought to believe that, if we cut taxes, more jobs will be created and everybody will be happy. And I'm perfectly okay with people making the argument for tax cuts on the liberty argument, whereby people say, well, it's my money, I should keep more of it. I totally understand that. That's rational, that's logical. I don't think that's how we should operate as a country. But I understand that. But, trying to advocate this false position that Bush tax cuts pay for themselves in the form of, job creation and trickle down. It was great watching Warren Buffett say that trickle down doesn't work. People like me should be paying more taxes. It's just not factually based. So that's always lovely. But it'll be interesting to see how the Republicans in the new year govern, if they are wanting to tackle problems. And it was very telling that Mitch McConnell and John Boehner, when they were talking about, are you willing to work with Democrats? And it was like, yeah, we're just not going to compromise on any of our values. And it's like, oh, that's not working. That's you putting your fingers in your ears again. And people will say, well, the Democrats shoved health care. The thing is, the Democrats came with a already compromised view. It came prepackaged for Republicans. They were like, look, we're not even going to argue what we really want because we know you're not on board with that. A lot of Democrats, a lot of Democratic congressmen and women, a lot of activists, a lot of progressives really wanted a single payer system. And I mean, it's not a pipe dream. There's a sizable chunk of the American public who thinks maybe our health shouldn't be for profit. I mean, if there's one thing that shouldn't be for profit, that we should all have universal access to, it's probably, healthcare, policemen, and firefighters. If we're going to say the government should provide some basic social services, those three probably rank pretty high on that list. But no, that's socialism. That's the government taking over free enterprise. So that was off the table before it even started. So the idea that Democrats came to the table and weren't willing to negotiate, it's like, yeah, they didn't bend too much on what they, started with the negotiations, but they had compromised pretty heavily from what some of the far left wanted to begin with, and what a bunch of Americans supported. So it'll just be interesting to see if they're going to be, cooperative in solving problems, or if they're just going to shut down government and whatever. But very interesting. And it was interesting to hear some stuff about the Bush book, like this story about how his mother put her miscarried fetus in a jar and they went to the hospital and W had to hold it, and that impacted his decision about, abortion. And then come to find out that it wasn't his mother, it was like the maid or the nurse that did this. Which seems like a minor detail, but you think when you're writing a book in which you explain how you formed one of your core beliefs, especially when those people are still alive, you might say, hey, Mom, is this what happened? I mean, I understand it's a touchy subject, but he asked her for permission to include the story, so he had to broach it. So, I mean, I would have thought maybe he'd spend a couple of seconds asking her to, make sure his memory was correct, because it was him as a teenager versus him as an adult. So, whatever. And then the other big thing that was in the news are the TSA, the pat downs, the strip searches. And I'm of two minds on this. Part of me is thinking, okay, guys, this is getting ridiculous. There was YouTube video of, the guy with the cell phone who said he would have a pat down. He didn't want the scan, and he'd have a pat down, but the security person better not touch his junk. And of course, he didn't board a plane. And then there was the young kid who, his father took his shirt off. The kid was basically hysterical about getting a strip search. And I'm of two minds. Part of me says this is getting ridiculous that we're at this phase. And then there was the story of the woman with the prosthetic breast. She had breast cancer, was wearing a prosthesis, and they made her she had a pat down, and they were like, "What's this?" And she's like, "It's a prosthesis." And she removed it. Like, she just took it off under her shirt and removed her prosthesis. And I understand in all situations why people would be upset. I would be upset. I mean, I think I've maybe had one pat down when flying. And you do feel like you're being violated. Same thing with a full body scan. They're taking like an x-ray of your body and making sure that, you're not carrying anything. But on the same token, I think we do have to be safe that it's important that we follow certain guidelines, and part of that is getting a pat down, and part of that is doing body scans and metal detectors, and it's important for us to not lose sight. I'm not trying to take the Republican position, but it's important for us to not lose sight of our security as a country. That if we had these measures, during the early months of the Bush administration, or even under Clinton, that maybe 9/11 could have been prevented. But it's interesting seeing a lot of the outrage is coming from conservatives, at least in my circle of friends. Outrage over, this is just nonsense that we're patting people down, and this 8-year-old got pat down, and it's like the terrorists don't really have the same sense of maybe morality or decency that we have. That shouldn't be our standard. But I mean, they weren't doing cavity searches on people. They were patting them down. None of the reports have really said that anybody felt like they were being groped. I mean, sexually assaulted. I mean, it is invasive. You're having somebody put their hands on you, especially in your private parts, your breasts, your crotch, your groin, your butt. I mean, it's invasive. It's somebody violating your space. But I think part of that is an expectation that we need to get into the mode where we say, hey, I'm flying a plane. This is a luxury. This isn't a right. I mean, I'm not being prevented from crossing state borders. I am choosing a form of transportation that 9 years ago was also used to kill 3,000 Americans. And this is a reality, that this is what government has decided is important. And it's not like pat downs just began during the during the Obama administration. Pat downs have been going on for, since 9/11 and beforehand. So that's a false argument. People, it's kind of like this new theme where it's like government's taking over. And it's like government's always been taking over. You're just really pissed because it's a black dude and the economy sucks. And that does suck. Well, not the black dude part. The economy sucking sucks. But I don't know. I keep hoping for cooler heads to prevail, and it seems like all of the cooler, more sensible heads are on one side, and the people who are doing all the yelling and the shouting are on the other. And so I'm not sure how we get that balance where we start to take each other seriously as equals, instead of, one's a socialist and the other can't have a rational discussion. But anyways, that's it for now.